The morning Captain Zethkara received the transmission from Earth, she was reviewing casualty reports from the Outer Rim conflicts. The holographic displays cast blue light across her scale features as she tallied another week of losses against the void spawn incursions. The war was bleeding the hegemony dry, ship by ship, world by world. Her communication officer, a nervous Velothi with trembling antenna, approached her command station. "Captain, we have an unusual response from a human settlement." Zethkara's 6 eyes narrowed. In 3 centuries of hegemony rule, Earth had never sent anything unusual. The humans were model subjects, compliant, predictable, broken. They paid their tribute on schedule, accepted their technological restrictions without complaint, and submitted to every degradation the Council demanded. It made them useful if contemptible. "Display it," she commanded. The hologram shifted to show a simple text message, transmitted on basic frequencies any child could decode. No encryption, no formal diplomatic channels, just plain script that somehow felt more ominous than any battle cry. To the Hegemony Council, request denied. Earth chooses a different path. No human children will serve in your wars. This is our final communication on this matter. Zethkara's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. They refused the conscription decree. "Yes, Captain. All 847 colony worlds have sent identical messages." The amusement died. Every human world responding in perfect synchronization? That was impossible. Earth's colonies were scattered across thousands of light years, many in communication dead zones. Some shouldn't have received the decree for months. When were these sent? Simultaneously, Captain, down to the nanosecond, across the entire human sphere. Zethkara rose from her chair, her massive form casting shadows across the bridge. Something cold crept up her spine, an ancestral memory of being prey. That's not possible with their technology level. The Velothi's antenna twitched. "There's more, Captain." Long-range sensors detect massive energy signatures from the Sol system. The humans appear to be building something. On the view screen, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the void, just as it had for 300 years. But now, Zethkara noticed things that hadn't been there before. Orbital structures that looked too geometric, too purposeful. Energy readings that spiked beyond anything their restricted technology should allow. How long have those been there? Unknown, Captain. They seem to have appeared overnight, but quantum dating suggests decades of construction. Zethkara's claws scraped against her chair's armrests. Decades? How had they hidden construction on that scale? The hegemony monitored everything. Every power source, every industrial facility, every scrap of metal that left Earth's surface. "Get me Admiral Thos. Priority Alpha." While she waited for the connection, Zethkara studied the tactical display. The human colonies formed a rough sphere around their homeworld, each settlement exactly positioned to maximize resource extraction for the hegemony. At least, that's what the reports had always claimed. Now, looking at the distribution with fresh eyes, she saw something else entirely. A network, a web of worlds positioned not for tribute, but for communication, for coordination. Admiral Thos materialized in a hologram, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "Captain, I assume you're calling about the human situation? You've received similar reports?" "From every sector. 17 worlds have gone completely dark. Others are showing massive industrial signatures that shouldn't exist. And Earth." He paused, his form shifting to a deeper shade of amber. "Earth is broadcasting something we can't decode." Broadcasting what? That's the problem. Our best cryptographers have been working on it for 6 hours. It's not encrypted. It's something else entirely. A mathematical structure we don't recognize. But Captain, the energy requirements for a signal this complex, transmitted to every corner of human space simultaneously. He trailed off. Zethkara finished the thought. Would require technology decades ahead of what we've allowed them. The Council is demanding answers. They want a full task force deployed to Sol system within the week. Make the humans remember their place. After the call ended, Zethkara remained at her station, studying the data streams flowing from Earth. 300 years ago, when the hegemony had first arrived, humanity had put up token resistance. A few orbital platforms, some primitive nuclear weapons, desperate last stands that the history books barely mentioned. Then, suddenly, surrender. Complete, total capitulation. She'd always assumed it was wisdom, the humans recognizing their hopeless position and choosing survival over pride. Now, she wondered if it had been something else entirely. The communication officer approached again, his antenna now drooping with fear. "Captain, there's something else. We've detected similar mathematical broadcasts from 17 other systems." "Human systems?" "No, Captain. Hegemony systems. Our own worlds." His voice dropped to a whisper. "The signals are coming from inside our territory." Zeth Kara felt her blood chill. Inside our territory? That's impossible. We would have detected any human presence. She stopped. Would they have? For 3 centuries, humans had been the galaxy's servants. They repaired hegemony ships, maintained hegemony facilities, worked in hegemony mines. They were everywhere, invisible in their servitude, trusted in their defeat. Get me a full analysis of human populations in hegemony space. Every worker, every technician, every servant. I want to know exactly how many humans have access to our infrastructure. As the data compiled, Zeth Kara stared at Earth's innocent blue disk. Somewhere in her mind, pieces were connecting. The simultaneous responses, the hidden construction, the impossible coordination across impossible distances. A picture was forming that made her ancestral prey instincts scream warnings. Humanity hadn't been conquered. They'd been patient. The data that arrived made Zeth Kara's worst fears look optimistic. Humans comprised 37% of all technical workers in hegemony space. They maintained the hyperspace communication arrays. They serviced the defense platforms. They had unrestricted access to 17 major military installations and 43 industrial complexes. For 3 centuries, the galaxy's servants have been building something in plain sight. Admiral Thos materialized again, his crystalline form now pulsing deep red with alarm. "Captain, we have a situation. The humans aren't just refusing conscription decree. They're actively jamming our attempts to enforce it." "Jamming how?" "Every transport we've sent to human worlds has suffered mechanical failures. Navigation systems malfunction. Life support develops mysterious glitches. Hyperdrive cores experience unprecedented resonance cascades. In every case, the problems occur exactly when our ships enter human-controlled space." Zeth Kara's mandibles clicked. "Sabotage. That's what we assumed. But, Captain, these aren't crude bombs or simple system overrides. The failures are surgically precise, almost elegant. Our engineers are calling them works of art. Whoever's doing this understands our technology better than we do." Through the bridge's viewing ports, Zeth Kara could see the steady stream of hegemony vessels arriving in Sol System. 3 full battle groups, enough firepower to crack planets. It should have been overwhelming force against a primitively armed world. Instead, it felt like walking into a trap. Have we attempted direct communication with Earth's government? What government? Thassa's form flickered with confusion. The humans disbanded their central authority centuries ago. They claimed to have no leaders, no military, no unified command structure. Just communities. Communities that somehow coordinate perfectly across interstellar distances. Exactly. Captain, there's something else. We've been analyzing the mathematical broadcast from Earth. Our xenobiologists believe it might be a form of communication, but not electronic or quantum. Something biological. Zeth Kara felt the temperature on her bridge drop several degrees. Biological how? We're not sure, but the patterns match neural activity. Specifically, the synchronized brainwave patterns we see in hive species. The question is, how can entire species coordinate like that without technological infrastructure? Before Zeth Kara could respond, every alarm on her bridge began screaming simultaneously. The tactical display erupted with warnings as massive energy signatures bloomed throughout Sol System. Not from Earth, from empty space itself. "Report," she barked. Her tactical officer, a young Keth with barely controlled panic in his voice, stammered, "Captain, We're detecting massive objects decloaking throughout the system. The energy readings are unprecedented. The main screen shifted to show space around Earth, and Zethkara's breath caught. Where moments before there had been empty void, enormous structures now hung in the darkness. Not ships, something far more complex. Geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly, surfaces that seemed to bend light around themselves. How big are they? The largest structure is approximately 4,000 kilometers in diameter. Captain, these aren't built from any materials in our database. The quantum signatures are completely foreign. Admiral Thassa's hologram flickered back to life, his form cycling through rapid color changes. All battle groups are reporting the same phenomenon. Captain, we count 47 major structures, plus hundreds of smaller objects. The humans have built a fleet that rivals the entire hegemony navy. In 300 years? Impossible. We monitored their resource allocation. We controlled their technology. Zethkara stopped. They had controlled human technology. But what if the humans had developed something else entirely? Something that didn't rely on conventional physics or material science. A new voice cut across the bridge communications, calm, measured, and speaking perfect hegemony standard. This is Earth Central Coordination speaking to all hegemony vessels. You have entered our space without permission. You will withdraw immediately. Earth Central Coordination? Zethkara activated her communications array. This is Captain Zethkara of the Hegemony Enforcement Division. There is no such entity as Earth Central Coordination. Identify yourself properly. I am Earth Central Coordination. I am 8 billion minds thinking as one. I am the voice of humanity, unified at last. The word sent ice through Zethkara's veins. 8 billion minds? That's impossible. Humans are individuals. You lack the neural structures for true collective consciousness. We lacked many things 3 centuries ago. We have learned. We have grown. We have remembered what it means to be human. On the tactical display, the impossible structures around Earth began to move. Not like ships, but like living things, flowing, undulating, repositioning themselves with organic grace. And as they moved, space itself seemed to ripple around them. Captain, her science officer whispered, I'm reading massive gravitational anomalies. These structures aren't just moving through space. They're manipulating space-time itself. We gave you 300 years to show us mercy, the Earth voice continued. 300 years to demonstrate that you could rule with wisdom instead of cruelty. You failed that test. Now you face the consequences. Admiral Thassa's image was breaking up, quantum static interfering with the transmission. Captain, we're losing communication with the outer battle groups. Something is interfering with our hyperspace arrays. Not interfering. Zethkara realized with growing horror. They built our hyperspace arrays. They maintain them. They know exactly how to shut them down. Correct. The Earth voice confirmed, somehow monitoring their private channels. For 3 centuries, we have been your servants. We have learned every system, every weapon, every weakness. We know you better than you know yourselves. The largest structure near Earth pulsed with brilliant light, and suddenly Zethkara could see it clearly. It wasn't a ship at all. It was organic, a massive neural network suspended in space, neurons the size of cities connected by streams of pure energy. And within that network, she could sense something vast and ancient awakening. What are you? She whispered. We are what you made us. Humanity replied with 8 billion voices speaking as one. We are the patient predator. We are the silent storm. We are Earth's children, and we have come of age. The first hegemony ship to attempt withdrawal from Sol system simply vanished. One moment it was accelerating toward the hyperspace jump point. The next it existed only as scattered particles drifting in the void. No explosion, no energy discharge, just instantaneous disintegration. They're using weapons we can't even detect, Admiral Thas reported, his holographic form now a sickly yellow. Whatever technology they've developed, it operates on principles completely outside our understanding. Zethkara watched her tactical display as red icons representing hegemony vessels blinked out one by one, not destroyed in conventional terms, simply ceasing to exist. How many ships have we lost? 17 confirmed gone. Another 34 report total system failures. Captain, they're not trying to fight us. They're demonstrating that they don't need to fight us. The Earth voice spoke again, somehow reaching every hegemony ship simultaneously despite their encrypted communications. You seem surprised by our capabilities. Did you think 3 centuries of servitude taught us nothing? Impossible, Zefkera muttered, then activated her general broadcast. Human collective, your technology violates known physical laws. No species develops this rapidly. No species develops this rapidly under normal circumstances, came the reply. But you did not allow us normal circumstances. You forced us to evolve or die. You scattered us across the galaxy, isolated our colonies, restricted our technology. You believed you were containing us. On the main screen, the massive organic structures around Earth pulsed with synchronized patterns of light, beautiful and terrifying, like watching the thought of a god made visible. Instead, you gave us the greatest gift possible, adversity. Every restriction forced us to find new solutions. Every humiliation taught us patience. Every act of cruelty showed us exactly what we would never become. Zefkera's science officer looked up from his console, his expression haunted. Captain, I'm analyzing the energy patterns from those structures. The mathematical complexity is beyond anything we've ever encountered. It's as if they're processing calculations that should require entire planets full of quantum computers. They are, the Earth voice confirmed, 8 billion human minds, linked through quantum entanglement, thinking as one organism. We discovered the technique 200 years ago, but waited until we were ready to reveal it. Quantum entanglement of living minds is impossible, Admiral Thos protested. Consciousness doesn't operate on quantum principles. Human consciousness does. You never bothered to study us properly. You saw primitive tool users and assumed that was all we were. You missed the fact that human neural networks are naturally quantum coherent under the right conditions. Zefkera felt pieces clicking together in her mind. The simultaneous responses across human space. The perfect coordination. The impossible construction projects hidden in plain sight. If humanity had developed collective consciousness on a quantum level, they could share thoughts instantaneously across any distance. When did this begin? She asked. The moment you arrived, when your ships appeared in our sky 3 centuries ago. Every human on Earth felt the same primal terror. That terror created the first quantum link between our minds. We didn't understand it then. We thought it was just shared fear. But that moment of species-wide unity planted the seed. The organic structures around Earth began to move again, forming new patterns that made Zefkera's eyes water to observe directly. Over the following decades, we learned to strengthen that link. Every act of oppression brought us closer together. Every indignity shared among 8 billion minds became a bond that transcended individual consciousness. You hid this development for centuries? We hid nothing. You simply never looked. Why would the mighty hegemony waste time studying the inner lives of slaves? You were content to see us as simple tool users, never realizing that the tools we were building existed inside our own minds. Admiral Thas's image flickered. Captain, we're losing more ships. Whatever they're doing, it's accelerating. The remaining battle groups are requesting permission to withdraw from the system. Permission denied. Zefkera replied automatically, though her confidence was crumbling. We cannot show weakness. Weakness? The Earth voice carried what might have been amusement. You still don't understand. This isn't about strength or weakness. This is about evolution. The largest structure near Earth pulsed, and suddenly Zefkera could see deeper into its neural network. The connections weren't just between neurons, they were between minds. Billions of human consciousnesses linked together, sharing thoughts and memories and dreams across impossible distances. We spent 3 centuries learning from you. Humanity continued. Your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. But more importantly, we learned from your mistakes. We saw how the hegemony's power corrupted it, how strength without wisdom led to cruelty, how fear of others justified any atrocity. What do you want? Zefkera asked, though she was beginning to suspect the answer would terrify her. We want you to leave. All of you. Every hegemony ship, every occupation force, every administrator and tax collector and petty tyrant withdraw from human space immediately and never return. The Council will never agree to that. You're talking about abandoning territory containing trillions of beings and resources worth. We're talking about survival. The Earth voice cut her off. Captain Zethkara, you seem more reasonable than most. Look at your tactical display. Count your remaining ships. Calculate your odds of victory. Zethkara did, and the numbers made her stomach turn. Of the 3 battle groups that had entered Sol System, less than half remained operational. The humans hadn't even revealed the full extent of their capabilities yet. This is our final offer, humanity said. Withdraw now, and your remaining ships will be allowed to leave safely. Refuse and learn why patience was never weakness. It was preparation. Around Earth, the impossible structures began to glow brighter, their neural networks pulsing the thoughts of 8 billion minds united in purpose. And for the first time in her military career, Captain Zethkara understood what it felt like to be prey facing a predator that had been hiding in plain sight for 3 centuries. The most dangerous enemy was the one that learned from defeat and transformed suffering into strength. The emergency session of the Hegemony Council lasted 6 hours and accomplished nothing except confirming what Zethkara already knew. They were facing something unprecedented. The holographic representatives of a dozen species argued and postured while their fleets died in Sol System. Council leader Vashti, her arthropod form rigid with authority, finally called for order. Captain Zethkara, you have direct contact with this collective. What are their true capabilities? Unknown, leader. They've demonstrated technology that violates known physics. Instantaneous communication across galactic distances. Matter manipulation at the quantum level. And that's just what they've chosen to reveal. Impossible. No species developed such capabilities in 3 centuries. With respect, leader, no species has ever faced what the humans faced. Complete subjugation followed by survival through pure determination. They didn't just develop technology, they evolved. Counselor Thranks, representing the military faction, slammed his crystal appendage against his platform. Evolution is irrelevant. We have the numbers. 10,000 ships versus whatever primitive constructs they've managed to build. Before Zethkara could respond, every communication system in the chamber activated simultaneously. The Earth voice spoke with calm precision, somehow reaching their most secure facility across thousands of light years. Counselor Thranks, you have 14 minutes to recall your reinforcement fleets before they arrive in Sol System. Any additional ships that enter our space will be considered an act of war. The chamber erupted in chaos. Vashti's voice cut through the noise. How are you accessing our communications? We built your communications. We maintain them. We know every frequency, every encryption, every backdoor. For 3 centuries, you've trusted your slaves with your most vital systems. That trust was misplaced. On the chamber's central display, tactical information began appearing, detailed schematics of hegemony vessels, complete with structural weaknesses and critical system vulnerabilities. Information that should have been classified beyond the highest security levels. These are our most protected secrets, Vashti whispered. There are no secrets from those who build your technology, humanity replied. Every ship, every station, every weapon system contains components manufactured by human hands. We know exactly how to disable them. Counselor Thranks was studying the schematics with growing horror. This information, it's perfect. Complete technical specifications for every class of vessel in our fleet. We also know your deployment patterns, your tactical doctrines, and your psychological profiles. Thranks, for example, commanded the massacre at Kepler Station 40 years ago. He ordered the execution of human civilians to maintain order. We remember. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. Thranks' crystalline form flickered between colors. That was a necessary military action. Rebels had to be suppressed. The rebels were children throwing rocks at armored vehicles. You kill them to make a point. We remember every atrocity, Thranks, every unnecessary death, every act of casual cruelty. The collective consciousness doesn't forget. Zethkara found herself speaking before she realized it. How many of you are there? How many minds in this collective? Every human in the galaxy, 8 billion on Earth, 14 billion across our colonies, 22 billion in hegemony space, working in your factories and shipyards and communication centers. All linked, all united, all remembering. The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. 22 billion humans within hegemony territory, all connected through quantum consciousness, all with access to critical infrastructure. Counselor Vidai, the Earth voice continued, your personal transport was serviced by humans 6 days ago. The modifications they made are undetectable but quite effective. Your ship will not reach your homeworld. Vashti's arthropod form went rigid. You're threatening council members directly? We're stating facts. The modifications ensure your transport will experience hyperdrive failure exactly halfway to your destination. You'll have approximately 14 hours of life support to contemplate your choices. Unless, of course, you choose to remain here and continue negotiations. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Everyone was doing the same calculation. How many human servants had access to their personal vessels, their private quarters, their most secure locations? What do you want? Vashti asked finally. Complete withdrawal from human space within 1 standard year. Recognition of human independence. Reparations for 3 centuries of occupation. And most importantly, a guarantee that the hegemony will never again attempt to conquer or subjugate any species. The reparations alone would bankrupt the hegemony. Counselor Thranks protested. Then you should have considered that before enslaving 22 billion beings for 3 centuries. Every day of forced labor, every resource extracted, every humiliation imposed, all will be repaid with interest. And if we refuse? The display showed new tactical information. The positions of every major hegemony installation, complete with details about their human workforce. Industrial centers with 70% human staff. Military bases where humans maintain the defense systems. Communication hubs operated entirely by human technicians. If you refuse, the galaxy learns what happens when the patient predator finally strikes. Every system you depend on will fail simultaneously. Every ship will lose navigation and life support. Every communication array will go dark. Your empire will collapse in a single day. Zeth Kara stared at the data streaming across the displays. It wasn't a threat. It was a surgical analysis of exactly how to dismantle the hegemony's power structure without firing a shot. You could have done this at any time, she realized. For how long have you had this capability? 50 years for complete system infiltration. 20 years for perfect coordination. But we waited because we hoped you might change. We hoped that power might eventually teach you wisdom instead of cruelty. And now we know better. The hegemony cannot be reformed. It can only be replaced. The age of empires built on subjugation is ending. A new age begins, built on cooperation between equals. The chamber remained silent for long moments. Finally, Vashti spoke. You're asking us to abandon everything our civilization has built. We're asking you to abandon nothing but cruelty. Join us as equals, and you'll discover what civilization actually means. Continue as oppressors, and learn why the meek inherit the galaxy. Around them, the walls of the most secure facility in hegemony space displayed the plans for its own destruction, annotated by 22 billion minds that had spent 3 centuries learning every weakness of their captors. The patient predator had finished its preparation. Now came the moment of choice. The evacuation of human space took 11 months and 14 days. The hegemony, faced with a systematic shutdown of every critical system in their empire, had no choice but to comply with humanity's demands. But the real transformation began on day 15. When the first delegation of former hegemony species arrived at Earth requesting membership in what humans called a cooperative. Zeth Kara stood in the observation deck of the orbital station that had once been a hegemony command center, now converted into humanity's diplomatic headquarters. The blue planet below looked exactly as it had centuries ago, but everything else had changed. The Vordhak delegation has accepted our proposal for mutual defense cooperation, reported Ambassador Chen, one of the humans who served as individual voices for the collective consciousness. That makes 47 species who've chosen partnership over domination. And the holdouts, 12 species are maintaining independent territories. The Hegemony Council has retreated to the outer spiral and claims they're rebuilding their empire, but our intelligence suggests they're barely maintaining cohesion. Through the viewing ports, Zefkera could see the incredible structures that surrounded Earth. The organic neural networks had grown larger, more complex, their living connections spanning the distance between worlds. But they no longer looked threatening. They looked beautiful, like the visible thoughts of a benevolent God. "How do you do it?" she asked. 22 billion minds thinking as one, yet maintaining individual identity. Every collective species we've encountered sacrificed personality for unity. Ambassador Chin smiled, and for a moment Zefkera could sense the vast consciousness behind her words. "That was your mistake from the beginning. You assumed unity required uniformity. True collective consciousness doesn't erase individuality. It celebrates it. Every human mind brings unique perspectives to the whole. Our diversity makes us stronger. But the coordination, the perfect synchronization, comes from shared values, not shared thoughts. We all choose to work together because we all understand the alternative. 8 billion individuals deciding to think as one when necessary, while remaining themselves when possible. A new voice joined conversation, Admiral Thas, who had become the first non-human member of the Cooperative's Leadership Council. His crystalline form pulsed with calm blue light, a marked contrast to the agitated red he displayed during the Sol System crisis. "The transition has been remarkable," he said. "Piracy in the former hegemony territories has dropped by 90%. Trade disputes are resolved through mediation instead of warfare. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy knows peace. Because you have the power to enforce it," Zefkera observed. "Because we have the wisdom to make it unnecessary," Ambassador Chin corrected. "Force creates resistance. Understanding creates cooperation. We learned that lesson over 3 centuries of oppression." On the main display, a star map showed the new galactic order. The Cooperative's influence spread across territories that had once belonged to a dozen different empires, all now working together in voluntary alliance. Green zones marked areas of prosperity and stability. Red zones showed the few remaining conflict areas, steadily shrinking as more species chose cooperation over conquest. "What happens to the hegemony remnants?" Zefkera asked. "They're welcome to rejoin us when they're ready," Chin replied. "The offer stands open, but they must come as equals, not rulers. And if they choose warfare instead?" The ambassador's expression grew sad. "Then they'll discover that the patient predator is also the protective parent. We won't allow the strong to prey on the weak ever again." Through quantum links that span the galaxy, Zefkera could sense the vast network of human consciousness monitoring every corner of civilized space, not as spies or overlords, but as guardians ensuring that the mistakes of the past could never be repeated. "The irony is beautiful," Admiral Thas observed. "The hegemony sought to create the perfect servant species. Instead, they created the perfect leader species, beings who understood suffering so completely they would never inflict it on others." A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Ambassador Chen's eyes briefly unfocused as she accessed the collective consciousness, then returned to the present with news. "The Kepler delegation has voted to join the cooperative. That makes 48 species united in peace." She paused, accessing more information. "Also, the terraforming project in the Vega system is ahead of schedule. We'll have 3 new worlds ready for colonization within the decade." "Colonization?" Zefkera asked. "Voluntary settlement for any species that needs new homes. The galaxy is vast enough for everyone to thrive if we work together instead of fighting over scraps." Outside the viewing port, one of Earth's impossible structures pulsed with gentle light, and for a moment Zefkera could swear she felt the touch of 22 billion minds united in purpose, not crushing individual thought, but amplifying it, not imposing uniformity, but celebrating difference. The patient predator had become something far more dangerous to tyrants, a force for absolute justice tempered by infinite compassion. "There's one more thing," Ambassador Chin said quietly. "The collective has been discussing your request for citizenship. The vote was unanimous. Welcome to the cooperative, Captain Zefkara. Welcome to the family. As the words sank in, Zefkara felt something she hadn't experienced in centuries. Hope. Not just for herself, but for a galaxy where strength served wisdom instead of cruelty, where patience was rewarded with peace, and where the greatest power of all was the choice to lift others up instead of holding them down. Earth's silent warning had become the galaxy's loudest promise. Never again would the mighty mistake patience for weakness, for those who waited in wisdom would always inherit the stars.